Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Wednesday edition of Across Canada. I'm Michelle Skierman. Coming up in 3 minutes, Gary Ryan will be here with the very latest information on our tornado warnings, which continue for regions of Quinte, Northumberland, and Prince Edward County. As well, though, we're seeing some severe weather now in the Kingston to Cornwall region with a severe thunderstorm warning in effect.
Lana says, how do you get rid of your dandelions? I do it by using
at theweathernetwork.com.
Well, severe thunderstorms are continuing to be the major weather story today across eastern Ontario. A line of severe thunderstorms has been detected now from the Ottawa region to Smiths Falls down to Belleville. And occurring along this line of severe thunderstorms has been the hail, about 2 centimeters in diameter, as well as strong wind gusts up to 90 kilometers per hour, and flooding rains have also been reported. As a result of this, Gary, we've now got a severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued for areas from Kingston east to Cornwall.
Yeah, certainly all the areas next in line, as we were showing you on the radar, how things are continuing to march their way eastward. And of course, there's been other systems that have also continued to bring active weather lines of thunderstorm activity that rolled in across Lake Huron and re-emerged in southwestern and into the Golden Horseshoe regions of Ontario as well. But still, those previous lines of precipitation are continuing their march across eastern Ontario, across western areas of Quebec. We still have, for the time being, we want to reiterate that as well, because it's the certainly the top story to tell you about, is the upgrade of a thunderstorm warning to a tornado warning for southern Hastings County areas, including southern Lennox and Addington, and also Prince Edward County as well. And this will be in effect for the next hour, of course, unless we get word otherwise that they are diminishing. The cell that was certainly looking like it was going to create funnel cloud activity has dissipated somewhat. If we get that information, we will certainly let you know. But yes, indeed, severe thunderstorm warnings, as we were saying earlier on, as you watch that going from the Kawarthas into areas towards Smiths Falls areas, for example. Warnings for Ottawa, Carleton now, Prescott, Russell, Stormont, Dundas, Glengarry regions, and continued for southern Frontenac, Leeds, Grenville, and southern Lanark counties as well. So very, very active indeed. And we also got word out of western Quebec as well that all the warnings continue, or the watches rather, continue for Pontiac, Lièvre, and certainly into areas across the border where we talked about Montreal and Laval, the metropolitan regions there too, and Vaudreuil, Solange, those areas too, and Huntington regions in the west. So it's been very active, and we have some passive weather too that's at warning status. Let's take a look if we can see about the reasons why. Look at this area of high pressure through here. That is keeping things fairly calm despite this little bit of a trough that's through here. And clear, calm skies tonight have created frost warnings all across Saskatchewan, all across Alberta for tonight. So we've got to really keep that in mind too. Cover it up if you've got to jump on it during the Victoria weekend, because frost is a real potential. Ridge of high pressure for BC still holding on. There's that low that's moving its way through, and again this little trough with this other little system continuing to linger itself a little further to the east. Certainly improving somewhat from the rain showers. You can see that system is moving further and further away from Newfoundland. We still have a blanket of cloud though that's certainly working its way from Quebec into New Brunswick, and that's been mostly low-grade showery conditions. You can see overall, as opposed to some of the embedded cells that we're seeing right up into the Ottawa area. So severe thunderstorm activity is right into the Ottawa, down to Cornwall, down towards Kingston Brockville. You can see that line very distinctly here, and why those warnings and watches, of course, are in place for all of those areas. So here's the severe thunderstorm watch that's in effect all through southern regions of Ontario. Embedded within this, of course, are the warnings that we have specified to you that do change very, very rapidly as they move their way through. And here again, that cell we showed you earlier on through Prince Edward County, as I mentioned to you, has continued its march just towards Kingston Brockville, and there's another line up through the Ottawa Valley as well, and that is why the threat is there certainly for tornadic activity and continuing thunderstorm activity as well. Heading our way northward now, we're also seeing some cloud and some showery weather that's been lingering across the northern areas. Other than that, it hasn't been too active. We did have some odd showers today across parts of areas adjacent to the lakes into Manitoba, Dauphin in particular. But the big story again tonight across Saskatchewan and across Alberta is the story of frost. The frost conditions will certainly be your key element to take care of tonight if you've got something in the ground that you want to protect. But the daytime temperatures have been fairly decent in Alberta and BC. Well, the threat of precipitation has been isolated to the western edge of the Rockies for the most part. And here's a quick look at what's going on as far as temperatures go. Whitehorse, Yellowknife looking at fairly decent evening temperatures. Can't say quite the same thing, though, as we look at a -2 in Churchill.
Well, tornadoes in southern Ontario have certainly been the big story over the last 24 hours, with one touching down near London last evening. And Environment Canada is getting better at detecting these tornadoes because of the installation of a Doppler radar system. We'll take a closer look at that story coming up in the newscast in 7 minutes' time, so please stay with us. Right now, though, Gary, how do things look for Thursday?
Well, for Thursday, we are going to be finding ourselves under finally a drier air mass into southern Ontario. So
Weather Network. Your local forecast is scheduled every 10 minutes on the 10s. Or visit our website at theweathernetwork.com.
Hello, I'm Michelle Skierman, and this is Across Canada News for Wednesday, May 24th. Severe thunderstorms are moving through southern and eastern Ontario today. Heavy downpours, high winds, and tornadoes are possible with these storms. One caller in Bancroft reported hail the size of golf balls. Callers in Peterborough and Apsalee say they spotted funnel clouds. Meanwhile, they're picking up the pieces in Appin, Ontario, just southwest of London today. A tornado cut through the area last night, destroying a barn and damaging a farmhouse. The barn housed up to 1,500 pigs, many of which were killed. The house suffered extensive damage. A door was ripped off its hinges, the deck was destroyed, and numerous windows were blown out. Other residents of southern Ontario had a shaky start to their day. The Geological Survey of Canada confirms a magnitude 3 earthquake rumbled through an area east of Toronto this morning. The quake's epicenter was located 9 kilometers northwest of Oshawa and was felt as far away as western Toronto. No injuries or damage were reported, but the tremor did catch many people by surprise. Seismologist Dr. John Adams says quakes are more common in this area than you might think.
In the Toronto Niagara area, an earthquake this size happens about every year or two. So we've known that there's a cluster of earthquakes in this general area, and it's a fairly typical event.